today, I know I've been really bad at following what I said we were going to do um, on the list, but today we're actually we are going to follow along what my lesson was, which is observational drawing, drawing from a photograph, because this week is all about the element of art value, so the principal value, and we're going to be, if you have something to draw, so it can be something that's just in your room. That's cool. If you have a phone, if you have like a camera phone, you just take like a quick shot, a photograph of whatever it is you would like to draw, and you can quickly make it black and white. It'll help you today, because today we're going to be focusing a lot on value, which is the lightness and darkness of an object, or of a piece of art. So it helps if whatever you're drawing is already in black and white. It helps you to be able to see it. So it can be anything. It could be anything in your house. It doesn't have to be. I'm going to be doing a picture. I actually just printed out a quick black and white. It's just a person in like a black and white yoga pose. That's what I'm going to be doing. But your drawing can be anything you wish. Of course, obviously, simpler things might be easier for a drawing that's quick, like a piece of fruit, or if you want to be a little more challenging, like a glass of water. That's kind of like a fun thing to draw. But if you want to go complicated, you can go as complicated as you want. Black and white, yeah, there you go, exactly. It's actually really nice. So the reason I chose this drawing, Tater, is because I was looking for something that was super, super high contrast, that had very, very pronounced highlights and very pronounced shadows, just because it makes it easier to demonstrate. But yeah, that's exactly kind of what you want. You want something that is like super high contrast, because it'll help you to be able to see. And today's my demo is going to be a little bit different, in that I'm not going to be working on white paper today. You can work on whatever you'd like, but today I'm actually going to be working on like, it's just like a piece of brown craft paper. And the reason I'm going to be working on this brown craft paper is because it's kind of fun to try out new things. And when you're working on a paper that is not just plain white, it can function as a mid-tone color. So it can actually make it easier when I'm drawing to do highlights and shadows, because the paper itself will function as like the mid line. Like it'll function as the skin tone in the person I'm drawing. So here, I'll give you an example. So this is a drawing that I did a while ago. This is a drawing I did a while ago, and I did it on mid-tone paper. And what's kind of cool about it is that a lot of these areas, like if you look inside of this leg, there's actually no black and there's no white. Like the part right here in the middle of her leg, that's the functioning as her skin. All that is just the paper. I didn't actually have to draw anything on top of that. All I used to make this drawing was 3 different pencils. I had a regular Blick pencil this is a 4B pencil. You can choose to use charcoal if you want, if you have it. This was just a charcoal pencil. It's one of the softer lead kinds. Charcoal is really fun to use, but it can be a little tricky, and it's not erasable. So that's something to think about if you're nervous. And if you're like, I'm not sure about charcoal, then stick with pencil, because pencil works just as well. And the other thing, this one. And the other thing I did use to get my highlights was I used a white charcoal pen to get the super like bright spots. So this is it's a General's brand charcoal white, number 558. And it's sharpenable. Like I can just run it right through my pencil sharpener, and it works really well. This is what I used to get the kind of the highlights on her body. And so what I'm going to be using today, I might not even use the black charcoal. I'm probably going to use the white charcoal and the pencil. And I'll, of course, have an eraser in my pencil sharpener. But that's kind of all I'm going to be using today. to capture this drawing. Now you want a drawing that is super, super high contrast. So like it could be a photograph of you, it could be something you Google, it's something you find online. It's totally up to you. I know we've been doing a lot of observational drawing, and observational drawing is drawing what you see. And drawing from a photograph is actually a little bit different than drawing from real life. And the reason drawing from photograph is different is because a lot of what you're doing as an artist when you're drawing from real life, which you can't see my face, is you're using your eyes, and you're using like what you see, and you're using your brain to help translate that, you know, three-dimensional object into a two-dimensional flat piece of art. So your eye is looking for the shapes, your eye is looking for the form, all of those elements of art is looking for the color, your eye is looking for the proportion and how things are going to fit in your drawing. Your eye is noticing and looking for all of those things. And one of the things that you're training your eye to do when you're drawing from observation is you're training your eyes to look for the values, to look for the areas of highlights, to look for the areas of shadows. And what makes a really successful drawing is having a wide range of values in your drawings. And this is true for comics. This is true for any kind of drawing that you want to make. You want really, really dark darks, and you want really, really light lights. And that's what helps make your art really successful, is when you have that wide range of values. So I'm throwing out a couple of words here. Let me see if I can find some examples to show you. So there's a couple of things when people refer to, here it is. When people refer to value, let's take a really quick look at this. There's a couple of terms that they throw out. They throw out a value scale. So value in general refers to the lightness or darkness of an object. And the value scale is basically it's what it sounds like. It's the scale of lightness and darkness. This is a scale that refers to pencils and how certain types of pencils are darker than others. So if you ever if you're ever at school and your teacher says, hey, you have to have a number 2 pencil to take this test on this Scantron or this thing, the reason they want you to have a number 2 pencil is because when you're running when they're running, if they take your test and run it through a machine to grade it, number 2s are kind of like right in the middle. So they're not too dark, so they're still kind of erasable, and they're not too light, so you can see them in the machine. So that's why the number 2 pencil is kind of the most popular one. It's because it's like the one that's smack dab in the middle of the value scale. So if you're trying to get a piece of, to do a work of art, and you want a wide range of values, then you might want to find some different types of pencils. So a 10H is like, the H stands for hardness, and that's the hardness of the graphite or the lead. A lot of times when you're trying to do like a super intricate detailed drawing, like almost like an architect would draw, like trying to use measurements and get like tiny little fine details, then you probably want a 10H, because you can get finer details with that harder lead. Now it goes 10H, and then the numbers drop to 8, 6, 4. Number 2, I think that actually is a B, 2B. B stands for blackness. So as you kind of work your way up this value scale, and as the numbers get higher, so they start off 10 and they go down to like 0, and then they start up again. So like, I guess 0 would be here. This stands for the lead is getting softer and blacker. So the higher the number, like this is a 4B pencil, then the darker you're going to be able to get that color when you're doing a value scale. And to do value, a lot of it is just the pressure you're using on with your hand. So when you're using a pencil and you're trying to get a nice smooth gradation from dark to light, a lot of it is just trying to learn how to vary the pressure that you put. So you're pressing down harder to get those darker values, and then lighter to get those lighter values. A lot of it is just practice and learning how to like really manipulate whatever tool you're using to get those that nice range of values, because you can get a value range with any of these types of pencils. It's just sometimes like a 10B pencil, you're going to get a much darker black than you are going to with like a 6H. Okay. A couple of other things you need to think about when you're thinking about drawing with value. There's a lot of talking today. Sorry, guys. When you're thinking about drawing with value, you need to think about the light source. So where is your light coming from? And that's something that you always need to be thinking about when you're, especially when you're drawing things from your imagination. If you want them to look more real, you got to be thinking, well, where is the light in this picture? Like where is the light coming from? So in this drawing, the light is kind of coming from this area. So all of the areas of highlights are kind of on the back side of this girl and on the top of her leg. So the light must be coming from above, because it's on the top of her leg and the top of her arm. But there's also a little bit of light shining and hitting like the top of this arm, and a little bit coming down on her leg too. So you're thinking about where the light is coming from. So in this picture, this is really high contrast, and contrast means the difference between the light and the dark. So in this drawing, the super, super high contrast, it goes very, very highlights. The highlights are really bright. The shadows are really, really, really dark. And the light is clearly coming from this side over here. So it's hitting this girl like on her stomach and on this part of her leg. But even inside of this leg that's coming down, it's kind of nice because you can see, if I zoom in maybe a little bit, you can see a little better. You can see that it starts to be a different value scale. So it starts off really dark, and then it gets a little bit lighter and lighter, and then the little area of brightness is right in the middle, and then it starts to get darker again. And so that value can really take a flat form or a flat shape and turn it into a three-dimensional form. So in fact, you can't draw a sphere without using value. So today I already kind of started to sketch this out just to kind of save some time. But today I'm just going to show you how you can follow along and try to vary the values using your different types of pencils. So you guys can work on whatever it is you would like to draw. You could draw from, if you choose to draw from a photograph, that's totally fine. If you would rather draw from your imagination, that's fine too. It's just a little bit harder because you got to be thinking about, well, where is this light source coming from? So today, just work on anything you'd like to draw on, but I'm hoping to see some different ranges of values in your drawings at the end of the class. So I'm going to be using, I'm using this 4B pencil. So when I start, what I generally like to do is I like to lay down like a first layer of shadow. So I'm laying down like a first layer of shadow, and then I'll come and I'll do like multiple layers, multiple layers. So I'm coming in here, and the shadow is going to kind of curve around because that's where her calf muscle is, and then it's curving over here. So a lot of learning to use value and trying to get it down right is, a lot of it is just kind of working at a drawing like for a long period of time, like not giving up, kind of sticking with it. And then also, it's like I said, it's a lot of practice in varying your pressure with your pencil or whatever tool you're using. Even if you're drawing with like a tablet, a lot of it is learning how to use that tool to get that sense of light and dark. So a lot of it is just practice. So I'm going in, what I'm doing right now is I'm looking for the light. I'm reverse. I'm looking for the dark. I'm looking for like, where are the darkest areas on my drawing? So I'm starting with the dark. I always do that. You don't ever really want to add those highlights, the bright, especially like the ones that I'm going to add in with my white charcoal. You don't ever really want to add those in until the very, very end. Those should be some of the last things that you add on. So I'm starting with the darkest, and I'm just kind of going to work from there. And I'm going to work in layers, where I'll add like one layer of dark, and then I'll go back, and you'll find that the longer you work on something, the more you have to kind of go back and keep adding darkness to what you thought was the darkest area of your picture. Sometimes after you've worked out on it for a little while, you'll go back and you'll be like, oh, that area isn't dark enough yet. So I need to go back and like fix it up and make it a little darker. I'm curious what you guys are drawing today. Does anybody want to share what they're choosing to sketch? If not, no
Well,
worries.
I'm doing my cat.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just said it. I'm doing my cat.
Oh,
I
rad.
made like a black and white. I turned a photo into a black and white photo, and so I'm just doing him. It's gonna be very hard.
Yeah. So this is not easy. This is really not easy. Like the learning how to use value, and especially like learning how to really like work in layers and go through and add. It just takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of time. If you want to smudge, you can always like use your finger and kind of, if you want it to look a little like softer, that is a one way you can kind of get a nice, like kind of smoother value. If you do that though, you have to make sure you have an eraser nearby to clean up any of the smudges that might go out of the lines.
Do you have any advice on drawing layers of a rose?
Layers of a rose. Well, I would, if I was drawing a rose, are you drawing it from real life or are you drawing it from like a photograph?
Well, I took a picture of a rose.
Oh, awesome. Well, then I would start just by looking for the shape, and I don't know, I would probably start with the outside petals, like the biggest shapes first. And then I would like kind of work from those bigger shapes. And I'm not sure how far out how open the petals are, but I would start from those bigger shapes and I would try to like work my way in. I don't know if that helps at all. I'd have to kind of see your photograph to kind of get a good sense, but I would start with like that. And then, yeah, kind of work your way in. There's the stem coming down. And then you can always like, you can always like, I drew the petal underneath. So sometimes like, I like to imagine that like, even if I can't see it, I know that this inside petal is still coming down. It's kind of nestled inside. Then I can go back and I can erase that line. Hopefully that helped. Sorry, it's a little hard to see without seeing your picture. If you want to show the picture you're working on, that might help.
I can show my picture.
Yeah, let's see.
Here it is.
Ooh, that's really nice. Yeah, I would start with those outside petals that are coming out like this. Start with those. And you have some nice contrast there and nice shadow. So just start, when I'm drawing something, the first thing you're looking for is the shape. So we skipped over shape because today is value. So that's why I had pre-drawn the shape in. But yeah, you're looking at the shapes first. And then after, like, don't worry about light and shadow until after you kind of have the general shape drawn in. But yeah, start with the petals. Start with, and it's okay if it doesn't look exactly like the drawing or exactly like the object. It's kind of a lot of about just trying your best. Like it's okay. It's okay. Getting something to look like a very like three-dimensional and something to look like a photograph is really, really a challenging thing to do. So don't worry. Just try your best.
Tater says he's drawing a guy with a sunflower in his mouth because he found a picture online and it's really pretty.
Oh, nice. Awesome. So a lot of times when I used to teach in class, when I would do a lesson like this, I would actually really discourage drawing from a photograph. But I think it's like a nice skill to have alongside drawing from real life. So drawing from a photograph is definitely, it makes things easier on the artist because, like I said, a lot of that work that your eye is doing when you're drawing from real life, a lot of that work that your eye has to do to like translate between the paper and the object is done for you. But it's kind of nice when you're learning about value and just kind of getting a good, like to practice. It's kind of like a nice way to, you know, make it a little bit easier on yourself when you're focusing on the skill of drawing value, of adding value. Oops, I tried to sharpen my pencil and of course totally the lead broke. It always happens to me. I'm trying to sharpen it again. I think why I try to discourage a lot of times kids from drawing from photographs is because when I was working helping kids do their portfolios for art schools, a lot of the pieces that I would see were drawings like this that were something from that somebody had seen in a photograph, and they're like, oh, I want to draw that. And while it's cool and it's like a good skill to have, you don't want that to be like the only thing you do to yourself if you're not drawing from observation as well. But I think as long as you're doing both, then you can have like a nice balance. It's more that you don't want to be only drawing from a photograph, because then you're not like getting those skills. Just adding in some of the shadows for her ribs, and I'm not worrying too much. I know things don't look quite right yet, but they will. When you start adding in those layers of darkness and those trying to build up that value, the more realistic your picture will look. So I'm starting in light. I went really dark on her bra and her shorts because I knew that those were black to begin with. So those were super easy. But I'm just kind of working in layers. So I'm adding in the shadows that I see in her arms. Shadows can be kind of nice because they help when you're doing a figure. They help with like learning where the muscles of your figure are. Working here. And I'm not too worried about the tiny details right now. I'm just kind of like focusing on the big thing. Like, I don't know if you notice, I didn't draw in her fingers or her toes really, because I'm just trying to get like a generalized sense, because there's in an hour-long class and you can't really, it's hard to finish a drawing like this because it just takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of layering on the shadows and the levels of darkness. So you might not finish, and that's totally fine. You might not want to like add in, if you want to simplify, if there's a way you can simplify your drawings, that's always good too. Does anybody else want to share anything they're doing? Always curious what you guys are working on. It doesn't have to be something for value. If you want to share something you did in another class, I totally want to see, or something you're working on in general. I'd love to see. I'd just love to see your work. And if you also if you want to change up your drawing in some way, like I added a bun on this girl. I don't know why. I just changed her hair up, which you can always change. It doesn't have to be a straight from, it doesn't have to be exact. You can change things up however you'd like. These are your drawings. But like I said before, a lot of what we're doing in this month is to kind of take you out of your comfort zone a little bit. So this might be something new, something totally different for you, and that's fine. That's totally fine. Like it's good to try out something new. A lot of times we teach learning how to do value in a very like not necessarily boring, but like a very static way where we're like, we're going to draw some shapes. We're going to draw some, circles and rectangles and use value to turn them, to make them three-dimensional, which is really good practice. But I wanted to try, and I've taught that way before, but I kind of wanted to try something new. So we're trying something that might be a little bit harder today. Hope everybody had a good Valentine's Day. You guys get to eat chocolate. Did anybody do anything special? Scott was just telling me, sorry to put you on the spot, Scott, but Scott was telling me he went on a cool whale watching trip, which is kind of awesome. He took a boat on the ocean. And
It was a lot of fun.
That's so cool. Did anybody else do anything special or do anything fun? Oh, you drew a couple of your friends? Awesome. Nice, Laura. Oh, that's cool. You guys played it together. That's rad. Nice.
Kat raised her hand.
Yeah, Kat. What's up?
So we didn't really do something too special for Valentine's Day. My brother's birthday's in a few days, but my mom gave me this. It's from a game I really like.
Oh,
And I guess I decided to share what I also played Among Us with Evie, Tater Tot, and Laura a little bit.
oh, that's awesome. Hold on. Let me, sorry, I know you're spotlit, but let me see. Oh, that's cool.
These are just the feet.
Yeah, I
Tend
can
to go
see.
to the bottom.
Nice. I see so right now you're focusing on the shapes, which is awesome. That looks awesome. Really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you can see that as you start to, so you always, when you're drawing, you can always start with the shape, like what Kat just had. But you can see as I start to add in these layers of shadow, and it's super light right now. It's nowhere near dark enough, but already this is turning from a really flat form to something that looks more three-dimensional. And it's just as simple as starting to add in those shadows. So adding in shadow really does turn your drawing into like a 3D piece of art, three-dimensional looking like work. And I know you probably heard me say this before if you take my classes, but one of the most common I noticed that kids who are working on art don't do, and actually adults too, I shouldn't even say kids, it's just any people in general. One of the most common things that drawers do when they're learning is they don't go dark enough. They think, oh, the value, basically they would get to the stage where I'm at right now and they'd be like, oh, I'm done. But you're not done. This is like only half. This is like not even half done. Like what you really want is to just keep adding in those highlights and those lowlights. You really want to keep working until you think you've overworked your piece. Because it's way more common to underwork a piece than it is to overwork something. And it's really common to not go dark enough than it is to to overwork a piece. In fact, I can't even remember a single piece of art that in like a student's portfolio that I've ever seen that I've been like, oh, you should have stopped, back there. Like that's so rare. But I can think of hundreds of times where I've been like, oh, if only you had kept and done a little bit more, if you'd gone a little bit darker, if you'd added just a little bit more. That's happened so many times. So I know I mentioned this before, but like you really want a wide range. Like you want to have a lot of contrast. The most successful pieces of art have a big like a range of values from dark all the way to light. It's when you've gone through that whole scale, that whole spectrum, only like that's when your work really starts to come alive. So even this area, I can probably go in and make darker. So I'm saving the highlights for last. I'm basically ignoring the lightest areas right now. The thing with the white charcoal is that less is more. I think, especially when you first get it, you can have a tendency to go overboard with the cool white. But just a little bit here and there is less is more with the white charcoal. Fix this up. Another cool thing to have, and I didn't mention it because I know that you guys probably don't have one right now, but this is like a really cool tool. It's a Faber-Castell brand. It's called Perfection 7058, and all it is it's a water-based varnish pencil, and it's totally sharpenable like this, so I can sharpen it in my pencil sharpener. And what it is that it's almost like an eraser. So it can help you blend and smudge, and it can also help you clean up and erase different areas. So sometimes if I'm like working in a drawing and I'm like, oh, I really want to clean out this little area, like this little triangle right here, and you can't get to that little area with your big eraser, this kind of functions as like a more precise eraser and a more precise blender. So you can just kind of work into those little tiny areas. So if I'm working, like what I'll probably do at the very end of this is I'll probably take this pencil and I'll go around the outside edges of my drawing and just kind of clean up any of those smudges and lines and things that tend to happen, especially, it's already starting to happen to me. I don't know if you can see, especially when you're working with charcoal or with graphite and you put your hand down on the paper, it's really, really easy to smudge and smear. So what I do is actually I take it up and I blow off all the little pieces, because if I go like this, you're just going to smudge and smear all of your work. White charcoal is a thing, Tater. So this is a white charcoal pencil. That's exactly what this is. It's basically like, it's like chalk. It's similar to chalk. But I'm not sure the process to which they make it. But it's called a white charcoal pencil, and it can help you get those areas of highlight. So I'm not going to use it quite yet, but oh, you can see I literally just used it a little tiny little bit right there, and you can already see that little part of my drawing is already popping out. So you have to be really, really sparing with where you use your white. So I'm going to save it because I'm not done yet with my areas of dark yet. My shadows. So I'm going to keep going in. I'm going to keep adding in some layers. I'm trying to really smooth and like make that blend between dark and light, trying to make it nice and smooth. The cool thing, like I said, the cool thing about working on this charcoal or this craft paper, and honestly, you could probably, if you have just like a brown bag in your house, you could literally work on that. But the cool thing about it is that it functions as a mid-tone. So you have your highlights and your lowlights, and this paper is now your mid-tone. So all the colors that are in the middle, like her actual skin tone colors, are I don't have to actually do anything on them. The paper color is the color. So I'm actually not going to draw on those. On this drawing, there's not very many mid-tone areas. There's a lot of highlights and a lot of lowlights because there's a lot of contrast, but the mid-tone-ish areas are like some of like there's like a little bit in between her legs right here, a little bit like in the area between her, the shadow and the light here is, I would add, that's where the mid-tone would be. This drawing is a little hard for mid-tones because I picked such a high contrast drawing. But yeah, it's good to, it's kind of fun to work on a different like tone or color of paper. And it doesn't have to be like brown craft paper. There's lots of different colors of papers like this. Like I've worked on like almost like grayish tone colored papers, or like even like lavender colored papers. It's kind of fun to work on just a different type of medium. I'm just going through and working on adding in some areas of darkness, making the dark values darker. Make this area even darker. Did anybody else do anything fun for Valentine's Day? I was telling Scott that before class that I went to it's like this cool farm. It's called Tanaka Farms, and it's in Irvine, California, and it's kind of fun because you can go and we went there around Halloween, and you can they have like a pick your own pumpkin patch, and right now they have like pick your own strawberry patches, which is kind of fun. We just went there to get lots of vegetables because they have like a drive-through farm stand. That was our our evening out, our COVID safe evening out. One thing that it's kind of nice to do is when you're adding in value, I just remembered, it's kind of nice to move your pencil in the as if like they're in the way that the contours of the shape that you're drawing are going. So that's a clumsy way to say it, but what I mean is, so if your drawing is, let me get a new pencil or a new paper, I'll show you. If your drawing is of a, here, I'll do it on this. It's the drawing I did before. So if your drawing is of this mug, this is a good example, then the lines of value that you're doing should be contoured in the same way that the mug is contoured. So the mug is going around like that. So when I draw in my shadows for this mug, I want my pencil, I see how I even move my paper because I want my pencil kind of moving in those same lines. So if this was the dark side of my mug, I can add a little bit up and down, but mostly you want your lines to be coming in on that curve, on that contour. Like that. So then I can go back and I can darken up this side. But so I move my pencil in the direction of the mug, if that makes any sense. You see how all of a sudden that flat mug is starting to look a little more three-dimensional just by adding in some shadows. And I mean, if I want to get really fancy, I can add in some actual shadows. Cast shadows. So I'm guessing the light is coming from over here. So the shadow is kind of come out like that. So now all of a sudden, my mug looks way more three-dimensional. Okay, I have to do the handle too. But so when I'm adding in, like, so if I'm going to shade this part of her leg, I'm moving my pencil in the contour in the direction of her leg. I did some shading that went up and down like this, but especially when I'm trying to blend from that dark to that lighter tone, I want my pencil to be moving in this direction. So I'm actually like, a lot of times artists will, when they're adding in shadows, they'll even do like cross-hatched like shadow lines. So instead of like, especially if you're a cartoonist and you're doing something and you want it to be really nice and quick, their shadows will actually just be, you know, contoured lines. They'll just be like, you know, curved lines like that to kind of give the impression of shading. So you kind of always want to work in this, in like the, along that contour. And that's going to help make your pictures look a little bit more realistic. So I'm actually going to start adding in some of those almost contour-ish lines like that. Working in that direction. Okay. So I know I'm not quite dark enough yet. I'm going to go back and I'm just keeping adding in those layers, layer after layer, going darker and then darker and then darker. Even when I think it's like, even when I think I'm done, sometimes I'll take a break and I'll come back to a piece. I'll be like, oh yeah, I need to go darker right here.
Kat would like to share.
I'd love to see Kat.
So I kind of wanted to share where I am on this. I'm still putting in the shapes because maybe I chose something a little too complicated.
No, that's okay. That's actually awesome. Those, and you are doing an awesome job at capturing all of those like contoured shapes. Like, oh my gosh, Kat, your work is like really progressed. I really do see how much you've grown as an artist since like the first time you came to this class. That's awesome. That looks really, really rad.
Thank you.
Nice job. Really nice job. I'm gonna keep sharpening my pencil because there's nothing worse than a dull pencil. Always help. I like having a sharpener nearby. I don't like to work with a pencil that is not. Okay. I'm going through. Making darker, making dark areas even darker. I mean, charcoal can be charcoal is really fun when you're using charcoal. You can get like areas super, super dark and super black. And it's actually really kind of fun to use when you're doing like quick sketches, because you can get some like, you can capture areas really, really quickly and fun with charcoal. Charcoal is kind of a very quick medium. It's a little hard to store because charcoal smudges really easily. So a lot of times you either have to like put your work in between two pieces of paper to like protect it, or you have to spray it with like a setting spray or something. Like sometimes people even use hairspray to like help set the piece. But yeah, otherwise it'll smear everywhere. You got to be careful with that with charcoal. But charcoal is especially fun if you ever get the chance to take like a figure drawing class. It can be really fun to have charcoal be an option for a figure drawing class because you can capture areas really quickly. All right, so now I've gone pretty dark. I think maybe I'm gonna try to start with my my white charcoal, and I'm gonna add in just a couple of areas of highlight. I'm just gonna go start super, super light, and the same thing I did with the darks. So I started with the darks and I worked and I went darker and darker. Now I'm gonna start with wherever the areas of the brightest white are. So I see really, really bright white underneath her leg right here. I see really bright white along her stomach here. So I'm going to start with, and maybe along her knee, the corner tip of her knee right here. So I'm going to start with those areas, and then I'm going to work a little lighter. So I'm just starting with those super, super bright areas. So then I'll work into the areas that aren't quite so bright. So there's some really bright here on her knee. tip of her knee. And it's amazing how once you start to add in some of the highlights, like the drawing really starts to pop. And the same thing with the pencil, or with that I was doing with the pencil. I'm trying to work like using those contour lines. So I'm working my pencil in with lots of short, like sharp strokes. I am going to do, because this plane right here is so bright, I'm going to start just like that. But now I'm going to like kind of go in and go in and add in a little bit of highlights here, a little bit of highlight down here. I'll make it a little bit lighter. I want to like preserve the areas of the brightest highlight. I'm guessing, because I made up this bun, so I'm kind of guessing the light would hit it like here. Do some like highlights like that. And I see some bright highlights down here on her leg, kind of coming around like that. And there's some more over here that kind of show the muscles of her leg. And over here under her foot. So you can see just by adding in just even just a little bit of highlight, like all of a sudden this drawing is turning from, it's looking even more and more three-dimensional. So I'm gonna add in a little bit of soft highlight here. And working her foot over here. Okay, but like I said, you want to be like kind of sparing with the white. You don't want to like overdo it, because it can be really easy to overdo the white. It's like candy. A little bit is awesome, but you don't want a diet that's entirely candy. Otherwise you get sick of candy. So you have to use it kind of sparingly. Although I don't know about you guys, maybe you just want your diet to be totally candy. It does sound like it'd be fun. I guess maybe Christmas every day is like a better example. Like Christmas every day sounds like it would be a good idea, but in reality, I think you would get a little bored. So you can see right here, like I don't really like how this arm is looking, because it's going, there's no, it goes too quickly from the bright to the dark. So now I want to like I'm going to take my varnish pen, and I'm going to kind of like blend in these two a little bit, so that it's a little less sharp contrast. I want it to look a little more blended. So maybe I'm going to take my pencil and make this area even a little darker, to kind of smooth this transition between the light and the dark. A little bit better. Does anybody want to share anything they're working on? I'm curious, you guys.
I can share the minimum progress I have.
I'd love to see.
My background. But here's the minimum progress of my cat.
Oh, nice. That looks awesome. That's okay. You know what? I gave you guys like a double challenge today because I'm like, all right, draw this thing really quickly and now add in shading and value. So value takes a long time. It's definitely like a process that it takes, like a solid chunk of time. So don't be worried. I mean, I cheated a little bit. I started with a drawing that I'd already kind of I not only did I come to class knowing what I was going to draw, but I came to class already having like drawn it in a little bit so that don't expect your drawing to be totally finished. Like my drawing won't be finished. Your drawing might be even less finished. And that's totally to be expected because I asked a lot of you guys during this class, expecting that you like not only pick something to draw, but then draw in the shape of it and start adding in shadows and value. So like I said, this is definitely a process. It's like, there's not, it takes time, but what you have looks awesome. It looks really, really good. All right. Does anybody else want to share any progress that they've made?
I'd like to share.
Sure, let's see.
It's a monkey.
Ooh, nice. That looks rad. Oh, that's great. Oh, nice. I love it. That looks amazing. Really nice job. Really, really nice job. Are you gonna do the box he's sitting on, or are you gonna leave that?
I'm gonna.
Awesome. That looks great. Really, really nice. I didn't even talk about like the background. But that looks awesome. Wait, Nathaniel, what are you using? Can you tell me what tools you're using? I'm curious.
Just a charcoal pen and
Yeah.
a white.
And the white. Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, and show me your hands. How dirty. Yeah. That's what happens when you're working with charcoal. All right. Thanks, Nathaniel. Rad. Tater, do you have your hand up? Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, this was the outcome of it. I'm pretty happy.
Oh, that looks awesome. Oh, that shirt. The shading on that shirt is spot on. You like nailed the blending. Really, really, really good. Nice job, guys. Really nice job. Oh my gosh, I'm so impressed. I'm always so impressed with your guys, with everybody's work. I always feel like I throw like these really hard things at you guys and you just nail them. Kat, you want to share?
Yes, here. I know I've shared a lot, but
No worries. I love having people come and share.
done so far.
That looks really good. Really, really good. So now, are you going to work on adding any of the shading in?
Mm-hmm. Once
Awesome.
I finish the outline. This is a character from a game I like to play.
Yeah, that looks awesome. What's the character's name?
Well, this particular one is a random one I snagged off my island in the game, hee. But the species name is Souza.
Nice. Very cool. I like the rings, I like his rings. Like it's like he's got like a like water floaties. I feel like he would just float off like on the ocean. Very cool.
The
Nice
two
job.
things it's always reminded me of are like clouds and a tuba.
Oh, totally. Totally. I see the tuba for sure. Awesome. Very cool. Really good shapes that you've got going on there. Kat, did you want to share? Not Kat, sorry. Evie, did you want to share?
So this is just something I was drawing earlier. It's character.
Ooh. Can you bring it a little bit closer?
Yeah.
Oh, I like it. I like that you're working and going in different like different directions, and also like doing your character in different like expressions. I can tell you're like really focusing on figuring out this character. Oh, he's so cute. Is it she?
It's a Z because they're non-binary.
Oh, okay, yeah. So no gender. Oh, I love it. What's coming out of its head in the middle drawing? What are those three things that are coming out like? Shoo?
They're just like horns.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Nice work.
Thank
I
you.
like this. All right. Anybody else? Would anybody else like to share any final chances here? Because class is almost over. It's 3:26. Yeah, let's see. Liliana and Heather Rose. Hi. Oh, nice. I think, are you guys on mute? You have to tell me about that. Can you?
This is a picture of this.
Ooh, nice. That's like a hard one too. You picked like a hard drawing because there's so many, like honestly with plants, the more leaves and the more and the harder it is to draw. So you went challenging. Ooh, nice. That's a good figure. Very nice. Awesome. Good work, girls. Really good. Like I said, I'm so impressed with all of your drawings. You guys are always nail it. Yes, plants are evil when it comes to drawing them, but you did absolutely nail it. Yeah, it's plants, especially when there's ones with lots and lots of leaves. It's really, really hard, especially to capture them really exact. So whenever I say to do plant, like I always pick like a plant with like one leaf because it's just easier. But yeah, thanks, Scott. Just a quick mention that this month and last month we are donation based. So if you have a moment, have a chance, you can go to the link that Scott's going to throw up in a second. If you want to make a donation, it keeps our doors open, keeps us able to run these classes. I love that you guys are such like a steady, awesome group of kids. There are people that are coming and I love to see all of your faces every week. I hope that you continue to come this week and you pick up value from some of the other teachers. And otherwise, I hope you have a great week. And I will see you guys next week. All right. Bye.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.